Okay, I'm hooked. I am a few hours into Cyberpunk 2077 now. I followed this game quite a bit, but I'd never played it before, and now that I'm delving into the Phantom Liberty expansion and 2.0 as a whole, I gotta say, the game is pretty damn good. Now, I'm still extremely early on, and I know the game's gonna open up quite a lot. Like, I've seen the overall world map, and I've barely explored even a blip, but there's so many little locations I can go out and scout, and maybe find something off the beaten path. Normally, though, most of what I found has either boiled down to a fight, or some extraneous loot in the overworld. But the world is so gorgeous, and honestly, that has been the biggest standout for me so far, is just how beautiful the world is to look at. And I'm playing on the PS5, and I imagine the game looks even better on, say, PC, but Night City is something beautiful to look at, and this is when we come into the picture of the argument that I always disagree with, that some people try and make to sound like they're higher than thou, and that is the idea that graphics don't matter. Art style reigns supreme, but no matter how you slice it, if you can create a world that is gorgeous to look at, especially for a game like an open world game, where you're going to be in the world navigating and exploring it for a long period of time, if you can make that world and the game itself pretty to look at for whatever reason, that is one of the ways you can hook a player, and that is something that I do look forward to. I like looking at pretty things in a game, and the neon lights and the overall environment that Night City encompasses is a really interesting and breathtaking spectacle of it all. Whether you're doing jobs, many stories up in the air, or you're down in the alleyways, navigating the muck and the vitriol and all that, or more sparse urban landscape, the game is pretty to look at. And that is honestly one of the biggest takeaways early on in the game, is that I want to explore more of Night City and the Badlands. I just want to explore more of the game because it's such a visual feast to look at and consume. And because of that, I want to explore the world more and just see what lies beyond each corner, what secrets may lie there, what I may uncover or experience for myself. And so far, for me, navigating the world has resulted in one of like three things: main quests, gigs, or random combat scenarios. Gigs are kind of like these side quests that you can do in the overworld. You stumble upon them, you accomplish some kind of objective, and Bob's your uncle. You may come across random fights or engagements with local gangs or whatever, and I think my enjoyment of the open world in this game will be made or broke on the back of the gigs. There was this one gig that I did, and it was pretty interesting. I had to go and essentially extract a doctor from a building held by a local gang. Okay, rather simple, right? So I go in there, and I'm waiting by the front door, and I'm realizing, hey, there's a guy in the middle of this building here. If I walk in, I can alert everybody, or what I could do, I can use my hacker man powers, distract him, have him walk over to a more secluded location, and can take him out by myself. Okay, cool, I can do that. That is a method of player agency that is ingrained in each of these missions and scenarios, and I really enjoy that. It gives me something to think about, something to strategize, and a way to make each individual scenario and situation wholly unique and feel like it's all of my own. So I attempt to do that, but I fail, because I get spotted by someone else or a camera. So then, I have to navigate on the fly and go run and gun, duck behind cover, and I have to make my way inside the building while taking out the remaining guards. However, the police come down, Night City PD, they come into the picture, and then all of a sudden, the mission goes from me fighting my way to get inside the building to me protecting myself while within the building against the onslaught of NCPD that are coming at me wave after wave after wave. I'm ducking for cover, I'm healing, I'm timing them out, I'm landing my shots, I'm making plays. I find ways to hack into some loot while I'm being shot at. And eventually, once I stem the tide enough, I make my way to where the doctor is, find out that the doctor is performing a surgery on someone. I then decide, instead of forcing them to come with me, I'll help them with the surgery real quick, which took I want to say a few seconds. And then she was willing to come with me. We walk out, and I guess because I was in a secluded location, the police just left. She got stuck for a little bit, but once I managed to unbug the quest, the gig was done. It was very simple, but had plenty of moments for player agency. Had I been better at the start, I could have navigated my way to her way more stealthily and maybe not even dealt with NCPD. But because of the way that I tackled that scenario, I had a situation and a way that quest unraveled all of my own, and I really enjoyed that. I found that really fun. I think the story overall starts out kind of slow, as you're kind of like being introduced to Night City. I pulled into my stream chat and they said, okay, well, I'm gonna go with being from the streets. I'm not a corpo, I'm not a nomad, I'm from the streets. That was what the stream pulled, that is what we went with. And we met this dude whose name I can't freaking remember, and we became like best buds really quickly. And I loved how they've been tackling Night City as a whole so far. They've been like working their way from small scale and working their way up from there. Like I learned the lay of the land for like that street. Like, okay, there's this local loan shark. He's kind of new to town, so he's not exactly the most well-respected or well-beloved guy. I can kind of work him over. We build up, get introduced to the corporations and all that, get introduced to NCPD, how there's money involved and the corporations are really the ones in charge, but that there's some people on NCPD who have some level of morals, right? And it just keeps going up and up and up from there. And it's pretty well-paced, I think. It's constantly throwing new things at you, the player, and giving you the lay of the land for how Night City operates as a whole. You perform this little merc operation with your boy, and you realize I could throw this person off the balcony like stories down onto the streets of Night City. It's freaking comedy. Like there's little moments of player agency strewn about the place and how you want to tackle each scenario and situation. You can hide bodies like in Metal Gear to where, okay, if someone else comes upon your scene of the crime, they won't see the body, you'll be fine. Or if they see the body, they'll be alerted saying, hey, there's something going on here. It may seem small in the grand scheme of things, but it helps make that moment-to-moment gameplay and have each of your decisions and choices that you make actively, at your own prerogative, have consequences, feel weighty and important. Do you want to take the time to hide the bodies, or do you just want to be kind of lackadaisical about it all? You can, but that'll have consequences. Everything so far in this game has had consequences, and I've really enjoyed that aspect to it. At least most of things. Apparently there's some missions later on, or some gigs where if you go lethal or non-lethal, it'll kind of matter. There's like this one like side quest chain that I'm doing, where they're like, hey, can you be non-lethal here? Which I'm like, okay, yeah, sure, no problem. But for like a moment-to-moment gameplay basis, if you sneak up on an enemy, and you choke them out, you can decide, do you want to just like kill them and snap the neck, or be non-lethal about it. I'm not sure exactly if that will come to pass and be significant later on in the future. Knowing this game so far, it probably will at some point, or matter at some point. Like I said, I'm still very early on, but that's one of the things I think a lot of like large-scale open-world games kind of flounder on in the initial bits of the game, and that is, they normally start out extremely slow and don't give you a lot of the really cool tools and kit and to make the game fun and interesting. And the game kind of operates on a similar vein, where I know I'll unlock a lot of cool stuff later on in the game, but even right now with the basics, they're still pretty damn fun. And later on, as I become accustomed to the world, and that initial wanderlust and shine that the world has starts to fade a bit, the complexities and coolness of the kits and equipment you have available to you as the player will probably start to substitute in for that wow factor. I think that's the vibe they're going for. And I love the navigation. Like, you can just like scale and navigate and parkour your way around Night City to climb rooftops and all that. I did that, and I found my way onto like this boxing arena that was on this like low-rise building rooftop. And I didn't have enough money to bet on myself, so I couldn't do it yet. But I can come back to it later on and fight. It's a really cool system. I like the fact that I can find these places organically. I think I had a waypoint to that one, but still, like, had I just been navigating the world, I can find these places. I can find these weird social events. Night City feels like it's living and breathing. Like, it's not just built around myself as the player, and that everything happens around me and my actions. No, I'm a part of this world. I'm a part of this city that is going on, that has events happening and unraveling by themselves. You can come across shootouts, or just people partying, or having fun, or eating, or whatever. It's these small things that, again, seem small scale and insignificant by themselves, but when taken together, add up to create a living, breathing world that for a game like Cyberpunk 2077 is extremely important in my opinion. It helps add a sense of immersion and wow factor to it all. It makes the world and the city feel alive, which is important because the city has a ton of people in it. The gunplay so far has been pretty impressive. I've been enjoying shooting my guns. I want to see where the melee combat goes from here, because I've been using my machete, which is kind of like whatever, but I think it's pretty cool to use a blade. And I really want to get into the weeds of things when it comes to like augmenting and modifying these weapons. Because I got this pistol really early on, right? That compared to my basic pistol, does less headshot damage and all that, but it's way more accurate, fires more often, easier to reload, and has far less recoil. So I can absolutely drain people on headshots, and for some reason, it's kind of funny how this worked out. My pistol is the most powerful piece of kit that I have right now. It's kind of my bread and butter that I keep defaulting to. And I like the fact and the pace of leveling up my character, going for different paths like coolness, body build, intelligence, cyber knowledge, or whatever. These don't only augment your gameplay, but they augment the decision making and the dialogue options you have available to you. That's really cool to me. I like that. You can build the character all of your own. I like to be able to play as a character that can be intimidating. It's not afraid to yell at somebody if I'm being taken advantage of. I can build into that, and I've already seen that work a few times in the past, which is great. I love that. So far, V is a character that I really enjoy playing as. I want to get more outfits and cosmetics for him as well. I'm only a few hours in, people, and this game is already hooking me. And there's so much cool design in the overworld as well. And that's really been my main takeaway from these initial few hours into Cyberpunk 2077 is the level of world building they've been doing. I love the posters, I love the advertisements. I love how I look at any individual little corner and I can see the fruits of the efforts of the world builders, the people who went in and designed Night City. Nothing feels like a copy-paste so far. Every little area has some kind of personality to it, or is telling a story of the world all of its own if you're willing to look hard enough at it. And it's moments like that, it's realizations like that that make me want to navigate and explore more of Night City, because I've only been in a very small little section of it. There's so much more to it. It's been really fun. It's been fun, engaging, interesting. The story started out a little bit slow, but in a good way. And the world has been extremely immersive. We had a car. We actually have a car so early on, which is just nice for navigation and all that. It drives pretty well. The game lets go of your hands within the first few hours. Within 2 or 3 hours. Maybe even 2 or 1.5 if you're quick enough. It just lets go of your hands and says, okay, here's a world, go explore and have fun. My only thing going into the future, depending on how long this game is, I imagine it's 50 to 100 hours, probably plus or even more than that. The gigs need to be something special. Because so far it's been mostly vendors, gigs, or main quests. Or random stuff to collect or little combat scenarios. From what I hear, the gigs get really good and populate the world with interesting things to do, and that each gig feels different from one another. I hear that is the case, and I'm willing to give the game the benefit of the doubt on that front, but honestly, Cyberpunk so far has been a game that I just keep wanting to play. When I'm not playing it, I want to play it some more, and to me, that's a good indication of a game that started out pretty damn well. So I'm going to call the video there for the day. Thank you all for tuning in. My pleasure for making the video. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like and subscribe. It really helps the channel out and helps support future content, and I greatly appreciate it. And please hit the bell icon to be notified for when I upload and stream in the future. Follow me on Twitch and all my socials down in the description down below. Jmulls G on Twitter and Twitch. Thank you all for tuning in. Stay safe, have a great day, and I'll see you all next time in Night City, the city of dreams. Bye-bye, everybody, until we meet again.